Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Dose. As we're talking about unsung heroes, I've got two unlikely heroes in the Bible, but two people that I find very key in the life of Paul. But talking about my own life for a moment, it was in my early 20s when you're trying to work, but you're also halfway broke because you've extended yourself too far in debt on items you really didn't need. And I was in ministry, and there's times that were great, and there were times that were really bad. And there was always one couple I could call. And you just kind of make that phone call where you're like, hey, how's it going? And you knew that if you just made that phone call, they would extend, oh, nothing. What are you doing? You want to come over for dinner? And you're like, yes, I would have never thought about that. And you go over and it's just always the most amazing time. And you have another great meal, or they actually take you out to dinner. And those were some of those times that a couple that I just always had so much fun with. And they encouraged me with the fun that they had in life as we were partners in ministry together. And yet at the same time, there's moments when life wasn't so good and it was awful. And they were also there to encourage me during those times. And it wasn't a matter of me calling them up, but they called me up and said, why don't you come over? These individuals were key in my life. And I'm sure you probably have some as well. Well, as we take a look at Unsung Heroes, I'm taking a look at the lives of Priscilla and Aquila, two key individuals in the life of Paul and his ministry. We can find them in Acts chapter 18. It introduces them saying that Aquila is a Jew, a native of Pontus. He had recently come to Italy with his wife Priscilla, and because Claudius had ordered all Jews to leave Rome. Paul went to see them and because he was a tent maker, as they were, he stayed and worked with them. Now, let's just take a moment here. Paul was a tent maker, if you didn't know that. That was his previous profession, was making tents. And here they are, they're tent makers. And so there's this commonality there. And he ends up working with them, probably needs some extra funds himself. But listen, I don't think that they have this bond simply because they knew how to sew tents together. I don't think you stay in anyone's house for 18 months just because you know how to sew tents together. I think there was a different type of bond there, way beyond the form and function of work. I think that there was a common bond of mutual submission. I think that there was a common bond of respect from Priscilla and Aquila of who Paul was. But there was this element of safety for Paul, right? I mean, he's been this missionary. He was the hated man amongst the Jews. And here was this couple that took him in and provided a place of warmth, a place of safety, a place for him to be able to retreat from all of the people and all of the pressure. And Paul, hey, let's sew some tents together. There was something that they could do together. And so much so that it says that Priscilla and Aquila actually went on missionary journeys with him. They were learning from him. They were growing in their faith. And then they also took a burden from him when they discovered Apollos. And it says that Aquila and Priscilla took him in so that he could end up teaching more adequately. They didn't discover Apollos and say, hey, there's a guy with some great potential. Let's go get Paul so that Paul can teach him. No. They ended up learning themselves, growing, becoming secure in their faith, and then taking burden from Paul, expanding the ministry of Christ. It's actually a tradition that both Aquila and Priscilla were martyred for the faith. Now you think about these two individuals, to me that they are unsung heroes. Who knows what all they did for Paul and how they interjected life into him in the midst of so much turmoil, in the midst of so much persecution, in the midst of the pressure and the pain of trying to forge forward and do ministry in an area where they didn't want him. There was a place that he could go for safety. I just want to encourage you out there today. Maybe you say, I don't have the mouthpiece of Paul or a Chris Brown, Larry, or Hilkin. You don't need that. You might just have the gift of hospitality where you open your doors to somebody and encourage them, provide a place of safety for them, and give them extra life because you're breathing life into them. A lot of the unsung heroes in the Bible aren't necessarily sword wielding. Some of them are right there on the side, being comforters, being equippers, being people that empower those on the front line to do the work. 2 unsung heroes for you today. Have a good one.